so often, especially when you haven't played the game, like me and Abbie, we're in this space where we've broken into this, this world of football punditry and broadcasting. Every so often you get a mean comment or two.
Hold on a minute.
Go on.
You think just because I've played the game I don't get a mean comment?
And he's not immune.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do.
I've got news for you, boy. I've got news for you. However,
I know. We've got what we've done, okay? We can't ignore that there's some absolutely hilarious comments.
Absolutely.
I gave Abbie a call last week and I said, look, are you cool to do this? We've got some mean comments and we put them in front of you, Ali.
I mean, I feel...
It's okay.
I feel
No.
No, we can take it.
What we want is to be... I want to laugh.
Yeah.
Like, if I will say, can we say on this show?
Yeah.
We can bleep it.
The one thing I'm going to say to you is this. These weren't the worst ones.
They weren't the worst ones.
They're not for visual or audio.
No,
right?
You'll never know. In
but
fact,
there were one or two bad ones. Abbie, you getting accused. Abbie laughing. But the only joke is your club. Right?
I would say that's probably fair.
Yeah, you're right with that.
That's fair. I can take that.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Well, this is a bit harsh, this one. Abbie's a perfect example of being able to give it but not being able to take it.
Oh!
I think that's unfair. You can take it as well.
I do take it.
What did you think? Where's that?
Probably better at giving it though, would that be? Well, we all are, aren't we?
It's a family show, guys.
But you know, as a Spurs fan, you must get it quite a lot.
All the time. Obviously, I work across many different shows, many different platforms, and what I would say is I do give it a lot. Like, look, I'm a Spurs fan. I have to be shameless. Like, I don't get much joy, right?
Got to attack.
I have to.
Much like Ange, she's got to attack.
I've got to always be on the front foot, and I will always call out your club, whoever.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've won 10 Champions Leagues, whatever, and my club's won none. I'll still call you out on it. I'm not playing for my club, but I have to have some form of joy, and I do take it because I will always hold my licks on things. I will always show up. I will always say that Spurs are when they are, which is most of the time. So I disagree with that.
Oh, well said.
I don't disagree with you disagreeing with that. Now, you, on the other hand.
Oh, no.
Yeah. How about this one? Send this bearded child back to TikTok where he belongs.
Bearded
child.
Bearded child.
What is a bearded child?
You,
obviously.
Me.
You.
Yeah, back to TikTok as well. Do you know why that one's a good one? Because they've done their research. They know I came from TikTok, and they've tried to get him back to TikTok.
See, that's
bearded child. I'd like to know what put on the child comment.
I imagine it was something
It's
to do
probably
with...
in relation to me. I make you look like a child. That's probably an age thing.
I like what you're doing there.
I like this one. Who's the guy in his grandma's cardigan?
Oh, that's that's so nasty. That's nasty because you take so much pride in what you wear.
And I love my cardigans.
I do remember the cardigan.
Yeah,
What one was it?
Warranty Dimension.
Yeah. I think it might have been last week's.
Here's me defending you, and it's probably terrible.
It might have been a yellow cardigan that I had, or a yellow jumper or something.
Ryan always looks nice. He's got such
do you know something he is? He's always very, very smart in the studio. Mind you, competition's not fierce, as you can see, but he does look smart.
That's very nice, yeah. That's very nice.
I think you've always got good fashion. I always tell you.
Well, I'm wearing my dad's bowling shirt today, so we've got grandma's cardigan.
I've got another one for you here, Abbie. It's an interesting one.
Go on.
Abbie talks more about Arsenal than Spurs. Oh. See, we've got a thing as Rangers supporters that we think Celtic supporters are more worried about Rangers, you know what I mean, than they are around the club. I mean, is this factually correct about you? Do you talk more about Arsenal and Spurs?
Come on, Abbie.
Oh, the delay!
There is a delay there.
Delay.
This comment could have a little something to it.
I do talk about Arsenal a lot, but that's...
Are you owning it?
I own that. I talk about Arsenal a lot. I can give praise if needed, and where it's been if I'm not in a biased situation.
Yeah.
Sounds as though it's a trait. It might be a bit begrudged.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I would also say, just to flip it back, is that Arsenal talk a lot about Spurs as well. They like to deflect back. If I was to call out Arsenal, for example, or say, I don't know, this season, realistically, it should have been Arsenal's title to win, which I think most people would be in agreement with. Arsenal fans would go, well, what are you winning? What are you doing? What are you competing for? No, it's not about us. We've had 5-6 managers in the last same amount of years. You've had, trust the process and the plan. So I will just simply state facts. But maybe I do talk about.
Do you know what I
Arsenal
think we're all in agreement?
Go on.
You cannot beat a bit of football rivalry.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
And why would I like Arsenal?
Do you know?
They're my biggest rival.
We're talking about it today. The end of the last Merseyside derby.
Oh, yeah.
At Goodison Park.
Wow.
You know, Tarkowski's goal.
Got out in history, that will.
Yeah.
Curtis Jones going over, Arne Slot.
Yeah.
Everyone's sent off.
Oh, it's
You love
absolutely
it.
incredible.
You love it.
Were you one of those Spurs fans that when Spurs were facing City and Arsenal could win the league, that you wanted Spurs to throw the game?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Give me that again.
Yeah.
You know when Spurs played City?
You've got your clip for the week, haven't you?
And there it is. You know the one when Spurs played City and they could throw the game, so Arsenal didn't win the title or something like that.
Someone was one-on-one through. With,
Some was one-on-one. Were you cheering for Spurs to lose that game?
No, I wouldn't say I was cheering for Spurs to lose. However,
You were cheering for Arsenal
I've
not to
seen
win.
Arsenal win the league at White Hart Lane, right? That I can't have that happen again. Firstly, and I can't like if Spurs can do something, we weren't going to really get to okay, at the time we were potentially going to get top 4.
Yeah.
However, I can't have Arsenal win the league. Like I couldn't do that, and it couldn't be Spurs that gifted it to them.
Therefore,
Spurs weren't ready to play Champions League football anyway. They weren't.
Spurs getting the Champions League place doesn't mean as much as Arsenal not winning the league.
Last season, no, it didn't mean as much to me. And I'll tell you why, more in depth, for the fact that this is going to get clipped up and you're going to have your viral of the week.
We got it.
My thought process on it, because this was obviously last season, my thought process on it was I didn't feel that Spurs were good enough at that point to go to compete in the Champions League.
Yeah.
So I felt like actually the Europa League might be a better option for Spurs anyway, because it's a slightly lower level, which it is to the Champions League, but we're still struggling.
Yeah.
But I felt like Spurs maybe would be better off in that, trying to actually go and win that, than just be in the Champions League for the sake of being in the Champions League. The person that benefits the most from the Champions League is obviously the board and the money that comes into, if it's going to be reinvested back in, which it never really is. So my thing was, would I rather be in the Europa League and potentially go and win that, which they still could, or do I want Arsenal to win the league based off of Spurs handing it to them at White Hart Lane? No, I'll take the Europa League all day long, and I don't care.
I get it, and I like it.
Because I'm laughing about it, and genuinely...
What would you do?
I don't know. You know something? I'd probably be the same as you.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I just hope it never rises. Do you know, because that's what football rivalry does to you.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly, and
It turns you into a monster.
Arsenal fans would have been
Not you personally, by the way.
Oh no, I am. I'm a real monster. I've been called evil before. It's literally Arsenal fans would be the exact same. When Spurs were in the Champions League final, all they worried about, all they cared about on those weeks leading up to it was about Spurs potentially winning the Champions League. So they've got short memories. Luckily for them, after 23 seconds, it was a non-issue. But it's the same either way round. Why would I want Arsenal to do well?
We'll get into that another day.
Let's save that for another.
We got Abbie going though. We got Abbie going. That comment got Abbie going.
That got me going.
It did. Any more for us? Anything else?
You're not going to be scot-free, actually, with your inability to put Steven Gerrard into the top Premier League.
Oh man. I got some for this. I got some.
Basically, it was just, that's a real shock that the Manc thinks that, which is obvious.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And honestly, also, to Gerrard not getting in because of titles, by your logic, Luke Chadwick is better than Gerrard.
Do you know what? This is so annoying.
Come on, then.
This is
Defend
so annoying.
yourself.
So look, let me put it out there. The Steven Gerrard take, okay, right? My criteria to make the Premier League 11. If you haven't won it, you can't get in it. That's as simple as that, okay? So
But it's a ridiculous criteria.
But I tell you why it's not a ridiculous criteria, because there's a second criteria that comes after it. So that's the first one. If you haven't won it, you can't be in it. I can't put you in. That's my criteria. The second one is here. Are you good enough to get in? Of course it is. That's got to be the second criteria.
That's got to be your first criteria.
It can't be. Let me ask you something. World Cup 11. Are you going to put someone in it that's never won a World Cup?
Well,
Champions League 11, all-time 11. Are you going to pick someone who's never won a Champions League? I understand their tournaments.
but the chances are, particularly Champions League, that your top team would involve somebody. I think it's a different argument, and I'll tell you why.
Go on.
Well, for example, World Cup. I could quite easily.
Could you?
Why, of course, you could make a case straight away for Johan Cruyff. I mean, it's maybe before your time, and I get that. Johan Cruyff was some player.
Yeah.
If you ask if you ask Bergkamp and people like that, I'll bet you any money they would have Johan Cruyff.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I understand that, but I think it falls into... Look, he was unbelievable. He was unbelievable. But like Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest of all time. My favourite player.
Never won the World Cup.
I won't put him
Lev
in.
Yashin.
I won't put him in.
I'm really getting back now.
I won't put him in.
You've never even heard of him. Russian
goalkeeper, yeah,
Russian goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Never won the World Cup.
I can't put him in then. And same Cristiano Ronaldo is my favourite player.
But you wouldn't put him in there because he didn't win the World Cup.
He's not won the World Cup. How can I put him in a World Cup 11 when he's not won the World Cup? How can I do that? That's my criteria. Cristiano Ronaldo, my favourite player, won't make my World Cup 11 because he's never won the World Cup.
But what if you play for a country that just doesn't qualify?
Haaland.
Haaland.
Would you have Haaland in your World Cup 11?
No, but that's not the point I'm making.
We're saying that he could at some point be the greatest player. He could be the best player on the planet at some point, potentially.
If that happens,
and he wouldn't get into it because of his nationality.
Yeah, well, it'd be the national...
So you're saying right away, sorry I'm interrupting you,
no,
but you're saying right away,
go on,
without doubt, there is not an African player getting in your World Cup team.
Well, no, because they've never won the World Cup. They can't do it. I'm sorry, that is my criteria.
I can accept you having not an African player in your World Cup team if you don't think they're good enough to get in your World Cup team. But I can't accept it just because they've not won it.
And that is why 90% of the comments agreed with you and disagreed with me. Exactly. Get back to TikTok, you bearded child. Amazing. That's the first third done.
Well, that was a lively opener,
wasn't it? I feel warmed up now. Don't know about you two.